Welcome to SVG-TV News and Sports for Wednesday, February 12th, 2014. I'm Jimmy Prince with the details. The Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB, will be allocating some $6.6 million to this country's open campus of the University of the West Indies for expansion and rehabilitation work. Speaking at the CDB's annual press conference in Barbados yesterday, President of the bank, Dr. Warren Smith, said the UWI Open Campus program is part of the organization's commitment in expanding the quality of education in borrowing member countries.
We are allocating $6.3 million to the campus in St. Lucia and $6.6 million to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What are we hoping to achieve there? We want to build technological capacity for service delivery, and we're designing, and the college is going to be designing new demand-driven training programs.
Dr. Smith added that the CDB will continue its work with the local open campus towards improving its offerings. Dr. Smith said in many instances there is little or no access between the open campuses and the larger campuses.
What we are doing is working with the University of the West Indies to build that capacity to improve the quality of the offerings and the quality of the accommodations in, first of all, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Lucia. This is a project that's very close to our heart, and it is also very close to the heart of the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies.
And Director of Economics at the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB, Dr. Justin Ram, says an analysis of a country's economy can possibly identify ways on how to reduce value-added tax or VAT being paid by citizens.
When I speak about streamlining the tax system, to some extent that does refer to perhaps lowering the overall tax burden of the business community within our countries. So yes, there could be perhaps room for lowering tax rates if the analysis shows that if lowering of tax rates might actually lead to higher revenues, because this might actually spur greater economic activity within the economy.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines on May 1st, 2007 introduced a 15% VAT on a number of commodities. In other news, new British High Commissioner for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Victoria Dean, says she'll be looking at ways in which the UK can support this country's ongoing financial stability. On her tour here on Monday, Ambassador Dean says she'll look at opportunities for growth and also examine how this country readies itself for the changes faced from climate change.
High energy importation levels. One of the things I would love to see in the Caribbean is much more focus on local produce and more use of the fantastic fertile soil you have here to yourselves, and much less reliance on import.
Dean says she would also like the UK and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines to collectively put out a clearer message about what this country has to offer.
British tourists, British investors, British visitors, or indeed British people who may wish to come and live here. I know that you still have a high proportion of your tourists who come from the UK, but I think there's a fantastic story to tell here about the beauty and culture of these islands, and it would be really useful to get that message out.
Meantime, the UK High Commissioner says she was struck as to how quickly St. Vincent and the Grenadines was able to bounce back following the passing of the December 24th, 2013 trough system, which wreaked havoc in several communities, including loss of lives. High Commissioner Dean states that she is impressed by the ability of the country to pull itself together and move forward.
And I think what I notice, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but something I notice here is the strength of the families in Caribbean communities. I think we've lost something of that in the UK, that there's a little bit less looking out for one another and community spirit than I see here.
A significant milestone in the development of the law in this jurisdiction is how the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union describes the recent ruling by Justice Gertel Tom on the matter involving former teacher Otto Sam and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Last Thursday, Justice Gertel Tom ruled that the decision by then Chief Personnel Officer Tyrone Burke to transfer Sam, who was serving as head teacher at the South Rivers Methodist School, to the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, in a letter dated August 17, 2010, was illegal and irrational. Tom also ruled that the applicant could make an application for damages within 3 months. The Teachers Union says it is now looking forward with great anticipation for the full judgment on the matter. Sam, who has been fired from NEMO and out of the public service, is said to be happy with the judgment and will be seeking damages from the government. Still ahead, the Ministry of Health makes it clear there is no suspected or confirmed cases of the chikungunya virus in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. More on this when we come back. Welcome back. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment is putting Vincentians on the alert on the presence of the chikungunya virus in the region. Chikungunya is a viral disease transmitted to humans by infected mosquitoes. The disease shares some clinical signs with dengue and can be misdiagnosed in areas where dengue is common. In a statement, the ministry says, in light of recent development in the wider Caribbean, it considers it prudent to urge Vincentians to take the necessary precautionary measures to prevent mosquito breeding. So far, several cases of persons infected with the virus have been reported in neighboring Caribbean islands, including Dominica, Martinique and the British Virgin Islands. The Ministry of Health is, however, making it clear that there have been no suspected or confirmed cases of this viral illness here in this country, and that it is taking a proactive approach in dealing with the situation. It further states that the National Surveillance Committee has devised a plan of action aimed at the early detection, a coordinated response and the control of the spread of the virus in the event that it reaches St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Abigail Williams of the Stubbs Government School was earlier today adjudged the winner of the Ministry of Education and the Pearson Grade 6 Writing Competition. The announcement came at a ceremony held at French's House designed to recognize the talents of the 10 finalists out of the almost 50 students who competed in this year's competition. All the finalists were presented with a certificate of participation along with books and pens. Securing the second position was Kristen Glynn of the Windsor Primary School, while the third position went to Denai Alexander of the Dixon Methodist School. Here's an excerpt from the winning story written by Abigail Williams, entitled Abigail the Hero.
One cool bright day, Bernicia, my neighbor, decided to fry fish for dinner. She then heard the phone ringing and left the stove on. When she answered, Brandana's granny called from school and said Brandana had broken her leg. Bernicia curiously rushed out of the house, forgetting her son DJ, who was playing happily with his car and playing toys. Suddenly, the wind blew the curtain next to the stove into the blazing pot. The curtain then was on fire. DJ was still playing and no one was home. DJ then realized he was trapped because the fire was spreading through the kitchen into the living room where he was playing. He started to cry for his brother and soon I looked out the window and saw smoke coming out of the house. As quickly as possible, I called Bernicia on her phone and told her that her house was on fire.
Meanwhile, speaking at the presentation ceremony, Senior Education Officer Aldia Dyer congratulated all the finalists in the competition and challenged them to aspire for greater things.
In the last years, the Ministry of Education has partnered with several others to host the Grade 6 essay writing competition. This is not merely to test your capability. We don't just want to see how well you can write, because we can easily come to the schools and check that out. But we are also hoping that this will serve as a stimulating force to produce the best literary works that can be published. We want to stimulate our young Vincentians to write and to publish, to share your work for all to enjoy. Already we have a number of budding Vincentian writers, some of whom are within your own age group. I can name one, Storm Halbish, who started publishing just around your own age, and he's also selling his work.
20 final year students from the University of Trinidad and Tobago, formerly the Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry, that's ECIAF, will pay a one-week visit here next week. The students who will arrive here on Saturday will be on a study tour of the island to learn more about various agricultural practices, as well as share some of their own experiences with farmers. According to a release by the Communications Unit in the Ministry of Agriculture, A packed program has been organized for the visiting students, including several site visits. The students will be accompanied by 2 staff members of the university. When we come back, the CDB projects 2.5% economic growth across member states for 2014. News from the region when we come back. You're watching the news on SVG Television. The Caribbean Development Bank presented its 2013 performance evaluation to members of the media across the region in Barbados yesterday. The leadership of the financial institution pointed to a positive economic growth in its borrowing member countries, with some projecting to have as much as 3% growth. SVG-TV's Zuleika Lewis attended that press conference and filed this report.
The year 2013 has been described as the turnaround year for the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB, with economies in most of its borrowing member countries projected to grow between 1% to 3%. At the bank's annual press conference, its president, Dr. Warren Smith, spoke of the institution's need for change in order to deal with its external and internal issues. Dr. Smith highlighted that 71% of its loan approvals were dispersed to 3 main Caribbean territories.
28% of our loans went to Barbados. 25% went to Antigua and Barbuda, and 18% of our loans went to Guyana.
Additionally, US $65 million was given to the region's carrier LIAT for improvements of its fleet. According to Dr. Smith, a Caribbean without LIAT would be hard to navigate.
Now, there has been much criticism, and some of it well-deserved, of LIAT 1974 Limited. But ladies and gentlemen, I am one who has to utilize that airline very frequently in my work. And most of my colleagues here at the CDB have to experience the services on LIAT. And in spite of the great need for improvement, I think that we recognize that a Caribbean without a LIAT would be a very, very difficult Caribbean to navigate.
In the future, the CDB is hopeful that better communication and improved accountability can assist in improving better service to its borrowing countries. Speaking on the bank's economic review, prospects and regional outlook, Director of Economics Dr. Justin Ram projects that its borrowing member countries would see a growth of up to 3%.
We're expecting this to be driven by the continued recoveries in tourism, as well as in foreign direct investment, which will strengthen and have spin-off benefits in terms of construction and other real sector activity.
Dr. Ram, however, noted that there would be higher unemployment levels in some countries,
as well as the possibility of further public sector and private sector layoffs, as well as hiring freezes, as many of our economies, due to their high debts, may be engaged in structural adjustment programs and fiscal correction to solve many of these issues.
The CDB's press conference was held at the bank's headquarters in Barbados and was fully attended by members of its various departments. Zuleika Lewis for SVG-TV News.